keeping you busy?
I'm definitely ready to handle it.
You know, what's the biggest thing that you've, as an outsider, let's say, you know, the music industry, who's come in here with the law background, what's the maybe the most common misconception or thing that an artist overlooks?
The business aspect, the importance of lining up your, contracts and getting your ducks in a row, because after all, you're here to make money. It's, we're all here for a passion, but if you're not feeding your children and you're not paying your rent, then you don't have a place to live. So I think if you get those financial aspects straightened out up front, it's, it'll catapult you to make more money.
Or just don't have children.
Or just don't eat. Don't sleep.
Skateboard your gear to the next gig. Now, and here's a really interesting question for me, probably not for anyone else, but
You're about to ask yourself a question.
I am going to ask myself a question. My question actually would be, what do you find that artists are now a lot more, or you're new to this, but do you find that artists are open to the information, that they're actually hungry for it, or that they have a lot of misconceptions and they are not willing to listen as much?
I found that a lot of them are not willing to listen. I think they have a lot of misconceptions and huge egos.
No, come on.
Sometimes they get hung up on what they believe is their brand, when really they need to focus on some of the basic elements of building themselves first. They're going to go spend $1,000 on a watch instead of having a well-recorded song. They send you, I'm trying to think of an appropriate word for it, but garbage.
What is the rating on this show? Is there a parental advisory attached to it or anything?
We're at IES, anything goes.
Oh, okay. Well, some of the quality is subpar, we'll say, and you just put your money into creating good product instead of trying to look good and have the great rims, and stop spending your money partying. Invest in a good legal advisor, things like that.
It reminds me of a story of years ago when I was speaking at a music industry conference, and I was talking to the public there about the simple things of making sure that your CD that you're about to hand people looks presentable, and don't make it handwritten, and print. I mean, I think relatively basic stuff. I mean, we should have some common sense. Immediately following that, this guy comes up and hands me a CD that not only was really badly handwritten, but he had actually made a mistake, so he crossed it out and then rewrote whatever he was writing below. I mean, it was just so ridiculous, and there's no contact information. My whole point on the panel was, you don't do that because nobody's going to listen to it. I had to listen to this.
2 years ago, I actually sat on a panel at the A3C Hip Hop Festival, and you try to hand someone a business card and everybody's going to hand you back a mixtape. And I mean, at the end of the night, some of these clubs, or even at the Masquerade in Atlanta, where this was a large outdoor space, you would see so many of these things on the ground, and they were exactly like you said. I mean, very unprofessional. Some of them had a ripped piece of loose leaf paper with a phone number in it. Yeah. And I got to think, some of the research I did for my book, how many of these mixtapes actually end up in the garbage? So I did some research online, and I found out that approximately 150 tons of CDs get disposed of per month. Wow. And you just wonder, how many mixtapes is it? And
and you really think about the coaster potential.
Yes.
Of that. I mean,
if you can get through the first song, then you can make it a coaster. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and that also to sort of build on that story. This is Robe from Artisted, and I had a potential client call up, and I took his call directly, and it was a young artist from back east, and he says, yes, look, I'm coming out to LA, and I listened to his music, he sent it to me, needed work, in a lot of different ways, but he says, look, he had the passion. He says, I'm driven, I'm coming out to LA, and I'm gonna come out there and see y'all. And I was like, you're coming all the way out to see me? That's really cool. But I said, okay, and he says, yeah, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna walk around and meet people. And I thought to myself, I said, well, okay, so you're gonna save up the money to come to LA, you're gonna get here in the hopes of meeting people where and with what? And so, I just tried to speak to this guy. I said, look, if you're coming here, you're saying you want to come here in 2 months or 3 months. Perfect time to figure out where the showcases are. Perfect time to figure out where the open mics are. Take as many gigs as you can. Don't care if you get paid. When you come out here and you meet somebody on the street, say, hey, come and see me. I'm playing this gig here. Get your music together beforehand. Don't just walk out to LA. And to me, in my mind, that was almost like a scene from a fantasy film where somebody's going to come to LA, walk down the street, and get discovered. Obviously, there may have been a time, never, that happened, but especially now in this business, and where are you going to walk in LA where somebody's really going to see you anyway? So, I do know that there are these sort of fractures in reality for some people, and it's very important that you have done a book.
And actually some of the things that you had just mentioned is what kind of inspired that. You said that it was almost like a fantasy thing. But what you did say that I wanted to cue on as well is that he seemed very passionate. Well, I've met a lot of emerging artists, like underground artists as well, who are very passionate. They really believe in themselves, and then they find out that there's this thing in the music industry that not a lot of people know about as emerging artists. It's called work. And then when they find out about that, their level of enthusiasm kind of starts to taper down. And it's amazing because it's like when you kind of like pull the wool off their eyes a little bit, they start seeing the light, and as they see it, they realize that it's actually like a job. I mean, this industry is the most competitive field next to professional sports and politics. And these artists, some of them think that it's going to be a major carpet ride to the top, but success is cumulative, and you have to have these small running accomplishments that build up, over time, to where you actually create some visibility for yourself, and it's not going to be just like a one and you're done type thing. And it's a shame that some people that have that much passion in the beginning, it doesn't carry through when they cross the finish line.
That's right, and the fact is, a lot of that momentum and decision making actually becomes a lot clearer through the experiences that you get from that hard work. And if you're not willing to do the hard work, then you're out of the game before you even start.
Yeah.
Well, we've been saying it all for the past few days here at IES. It's basically it is hard work. There are no shortcuts. Everybody's looking for that shortcut. I mean, seriously, some of the questions I've gotten about are that blatant. But everybody's looking for the shortcut. It is work, but man, what's better than working at what you love? I mean, really, and working at your own career. I often refer to Confucius, that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And of course, some of it's hard, and I don't enjoy every aspect about it, but you know what? Every bit of work I'm doing is for myself, my company, not for somebody else. And I think that makes it special. I think every artist has to recognize that it's fun to work at putting your own product and project out there, and art out there.
I also think that, I just wanted to add to that, we also have to realize, and I think folks need to understand that you have different kinds of personalities and different kinds of characters. You have the guy or girl who's happy to, come home and play a few chords on their guitar, and they're done and they're happy, and that gives them fulfillment. Then you have the person who can sit around the bonfire, or even, let's go to the next step. You have a musician who actually is getting pretty good gigs, and they can actually kind of support themselves, making money, doing what their passion is, whether it's playing in cover bands, which is most likely how they're going to make money, unless they're licensing their music or something. And then you have the maniac, which is the person who thinks about it all the time, whether it's crafting their skill as an artist, or whether it's the business, which is now what it's extended into, not just the art, but the art of the business too. That person who has that sort of maniacal passion and drive for it is the person that's going to make it. So you have to almost decide.
5%.
Right, and you have to almost decide, what kind of person am I? And work backwards. If you're the kind of person who's happy playing 3 chords for your friends around the bonfire, fantastic. Understand that. If you're the person who's only willing to put in 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day, and you're making a decent living and you know that you can handle that, great. If you're willing to go the long haul, starve, sleep on a bench, lose girlfriends, lose boyfriends, lose family that who aren't going to support what you're doing to find your dream and see your passion, all through the thick and thin, it's all going to be part of the mixture of your success, and you're going to enjoy all of it in the big picture.
Right, you're going to enjoy losing all the family and all the friends and all the
That was my favorite part. That was my favorite part.
I think you're really promoting this industry.
It's a lifestyle choice. It's definitely a lifestyle that, you have to adapt to.
Or you could become in the top 1%, like Ravi here, who finds the opportunity at every possible nook and cranny that is presented to him. I have the utmost respect for you.
Thank you.
And that's the desire.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Well, I don't think we got all the applause on the
I
microphone.
speaking of which, at this juncture, I want to let everybody know that Robbie has the Artist Career Development Center on Artist Ed, where artists can come and sign up for a small yearly subscription and get his panties. We do send a pair of his panties out. He shows you how to personally jimmy a lock. Also, no, it's a great place for any and all artists, experienced or inexperienced, to go and learn a lot. Also, I'd like to say that Ravi, I'm now Ravi's agent. Isn't that wonderful?
Wait, is that your hand in my pocket?
No, I'm okay, thank you. In September, Ravi's going to be at NAMM Shanghai. He's also going to be...
All right, you're a lousy agent. September, I'll be at NAMM Russia.
Oh, okay, well then it's wrong somewhere here. Okay, then September you'll be at Moscow.
Correct. That's
Okay,
and
and
just
then
so you know, Moscow is in Russia.
And in October you're going to be in Shanghai?
In October, I'll be in Shanghai, which happens to be in China.
Okay, so if anybody walking around those two spots wants to stop by and say hi to Ravi, he's...
And get discovered.
And get discovered.
By Ravi.
On the street in Shanghai, there's only a
Can I
billion.
take an Uber there?
He will be signing his panties,
Yeah.
so there you go.
What is the deal with the panties?
They're selling like hotcakes, what do I know?
Put them in a vending machine.
Your wife is selling them.
Oh,
I got my
okay. Where do we go at this point? I'm not quite sure what the juncture is.
I got the contract for the certified limited edition.
The White Album.
I want to ask her about protection. Copyright protection, sound recording protection.
Oh, that
Back in
protection.
junior high school.
And the transition.
Came out wrong, didn't it? Oh.
Your timing was excellent.
Perfect.
What would you like to
Wow.
know?
Well, I'm just saying, you've got so many musicians out there who are not educated about copyright forms and all these other things, and this is something that I think everybody overlooks as the very foundation of making money, is to protect yourself.
That's
and,
correct.
And what is it that you would suggest for that?
Well,
Why don't you say the
Yeah,
question?
repeat his question because I wasn't listening.
Okay.
He's been doing that day and a half now. He hasn't heard a thing I
He
said.
asked, how do musicians protect themselves by copyrighting their songs, correct? Basically, you would register with...
Well, no. I'm just saying. I'm saying, how do they know this information? They've got to
How do
go
they
seek
find
it out.
the
They got to
information?
research.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
a lot of guys
very
don't know that they can
inexpensive.
I mean, how do they know what they don't know?
Well, let me tell you, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, yeah, we send our songs back in an envelope.
Okay, so
And
there's a
there's
huge
The poor man's
misconception.
copyright.
That doesn't work.
There's a huge misconception about copyright being sufficient by mailing it to yourself. That can work on some level, but it doesn't put the world on notice
Correct.
of a copyright. So if you really want to protect yourself and not have to litigate the date that the song was created, because that's the only way that that little mailing thing is going to protect you, is if it gets to litigation, which costs $50,000 or more, I would
Already in the
expect.
hole there.
Exactly. So save yourself the trouble. Invest the $40 or $60. I don't know how much it is right now.
35.
$35. Somebody told me today it was $70. It's news to me. I don't know.
That's only,
Well, it's only 150 with Artist Head, so that's...
and that's only for attorneys.
Last
So.
I looked, it was like $35 or $40, and you can register your entire album all at once. So upload as many songs as you can under that one fee.
Absolutely.
And save yourself the money.
Yes, we can.
Let me ask you about,
Very inexpensive.
what about
Inexcusable to
publicly,
not.
like somebody goes out there and they perform something, put it on YouTube, that is not sufficient enough for a date established on a song?
they'll ask you when it was published.
Technically-
Let's say if it's a prior published.
Well, it would be
date.
published the
As
moment you
you're
put it
filling
on
out the
YouTube.
copyright form, let's say date first published.
Why would you not want to invest the $35 and protect yourself in
I'm just saying, you're just out there and you're playing, you know?
I think though, to be clear, you are just as protected, even if you don't register legally, right? But
Yeah.
it's good business practice to make a registration, and if I understand correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also, as long as you've registered it, you can also sue for your legal fees or something like that.
Right.
Right? Isn't-
So what basically, and you're the attorney and you would know, but basically as it goes, as she said, let's say that somebody says, okay, I've written this song, and then you have to go to court over it, it becomes litigation then. You have to, if you haven't sent it to the Copyright Office, then you're bringing in your little self-mailed letter that you did, but you're still, now you have to fight that. Now you're having an argument, it's costing you money, you've got litigation that you're having to deal with, you're paying.
And you've got to pay up front.
And you have to pay up front. If it's already registered, case closed. Correct? You saved your money.
What I've seen is that the legal research that I've done actually, the poor man's copyright there, and the Library of Congress has circulars that you can find on eco.gov, I believe. It's the Library of Congress's online website, that there is no contingency in written law that allows for that states that your music mailed to yourself is going to be actually protected. There's nothing that will protect it, because basically the material that you're mailing to yourself, there's nothing that states that's actually yours. And also you can actually get predated envelopes and then stuff something in it retroactively. Ultimately, your music is actually copyrighted the moment that you record it and fix it to a tangible medium.
Right.
Somewhere I saw where the moment you write it, it's copywritten.
Well, if you write it down.
Right.
Yeah.
It's much easier just to go to the copy.
But this goes, and
I
this
have a
goes,
filing cabinet of envelopes with cassette tape. I do, with
Yes.
cassette tapes in them, and you know, all the gum and the labels will start to come off. But you know, it's all there and it's all dated. And I will still do this to this day while I'm working. I'll email myself a copy because it's just burden of proof. It's some
It
other
is.
time.
What's
The
a
more you
cassette
have,
tape?
the more you what's a cassette tape?
Exactly. It comes down to, a question of fact for the trier of fact, which costs you thousands of dollars
Right.
to have a determination for, or $35. You decide.
It's ultimately a judgment.
And if
so-
you decide not to copyright, then give me a call. And I'll represent you when you need to litigate.
and a good point about this is, again, when you're going at your career, do the research. Don't try and, as in anything, whether you're doing home repairs, whatever it is, don't go for the cheapest. Don't look at trying to cut corners, because in the end you're going to spend double at least. Take the time to educate yourself. Look around. There's no excuse for anybody. You can go to the library and start to study if you want. It's still there.
What's a library?
There's a great line. There's never enough time to do it right, but always enough time to do it over. And it's the same with money. There's never enough money to do it right, but there's always enough money to do it over. So
I noticed.
I'm pretty sure that's what your wife told me.
I noticed that artists, from genre to genre, they seem to be in the dark about different things. Like on the indie side, it's not the indie side, but with bands, such as like punk bands, hardcore bands, and metal bands, I see a lot of guys that they really have the thing with the network, the fan support, the merchandising. They have it down pat. Whereas in hip hop, you don't see too much of that at shows. You don't see merchandise tables, but you see like a more of a business savvy. In the urban areas.
Absolutely.
And this is where they fall short a little bit in some of the rock genres. So it's kind of like there are different knowledge bases or different things that are focused on. I think because urban music has garnered so much popularity with singles and everything. People know about split sheets. They're more concerned about publishing, whereas they're falling short on what they need to do as far as marketing themselves, developing a fan base, getting out touring. Even doing independent shows or like sharing shows with bands from other cities. These are little rudimentary steps that artists need to make as they climb their up the ladder of their career.
You forgot something about the rappers. They'll shoot you if you do them wrong.
Well, that's litigation in the hood.
That is rap litigation.
And to prove your
Sentencing.
and to prove your point, a lot of the hip hop artists that actually call Artist Head and that I get to consult with. I'm very impressed with the business acumen that a lot of artists in the hip hop world have, how that they have developed over time, and that they're also very concerned and also know what they want, whereas a lot of the rock artists are a little more open about it, like, I don't know, help me. A lot of the hip hop urban artists come to me, they have an idea about business. They have some misconceptions, but in general, overall, they're very business savvy, so it's quite interesting.
One thing that I wanted to touch on for all the artists that are actually listening to this, and it goes into what we've been talking about with the urban music. A lot of guys are really savvy, and I've gotten a lot of submissions from urban artists that are garbage. And I just want to say that when making money is a priority over making great music, that's where you fail as an artist.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's like what
Art
Robbie
comes
said.
first. I'm sorry.
Pursue excellence, and success will follow, right?
Yeah, something like that. Pursue excellence. Don't chase success, pursue excellence, and success will chase you.
There you
Very
go.
nice. It's also interesting on
Same
that
thing.
on that same point that, as you say, I mean, I get a lot of hip hop artists that have a lot of good things in place, and then you go to their YouTube channel or you listen to their tracks and you're just like, wow, you spent a lot of time on the wrong stuff. I mean, it's all important, but you're not ready yet. So if you're gonna put it out there like it's big and it's ready and your ideas are big and ready, make sure that the art is up to par with where you want to go. Because if you don't, it's just that big, like, wow, these people, they sound like that they know what they're doing, where they want to go. Oh, let's go check out that song on YouTube. Beep, interest drop instantly. And
What was the song?
why is your mama wearing Robbie's panties? And that's the question. I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I've
About
seen
that
you.
protection.
While we were talking about music as being, obviously the priority, the music needs to come first. And, ultimately, I've seen just a lot of artists that have been trying to, they've been focusing on the wrong things, as you had said. And, I just actually lost my train of thought on the air.
Can we have a
You were
moment of
talking about
silence?
putting junk out there on the internet. That's what they were talking about.
That's right.
I have artists send me stuff too, and the links, and it's
All right, quick, give him the mic back.
embarrassing. I
Give
just
him the
tell
mic
them
back.
to take it off.
Sorry.
With the music being the most important thing, and one thing that I see a lot in rap music is the proliferation of free mixtapes. And this is something that I have a problem with because I feel it devalues an artist's music. They want to release volumes and volumes of music to a limited amount of people instead of taking a few hot tracks and learning how to market it to masses of people. They say, oh man, I'm handing this out. It's marketing, it's advertising, or well, dude, you're doing a remix of a song that's copyrighted. Well, I'm just doing it for promotion. Well, actually, that's against the law because you can't do that. But I'm giving it away for free. Well, this is the thing, especially if it's original music. When these artists are giving this stuff away for free and they're calling it marketing, that's not marketing. Flyers, posters, online stuff, that's advertising. What you're doing is you need to advertise the product, which is music. And music is actually the fundamental and number one resource of all the revenue in this industry. So when you start giving that away and you start conditioning a whole generation of people that music should be free and you shouldn't support emerging artists.
Interesting.
What are you doing? How are you going to bring that back? Once people's mentality is that music is free and that I shouldn't have to pay for it. The generations that come behind that, now you may have just completely disrupted the one thing that this whole industry is built around. I mean, it is a business, and there's jobs, there's labels, there's people that need to keep this thing going, and without revenue streams from music, that castle can come down.
Yeah, well, we need to start charging for the music and just give away the panties.
Except for the limited edition.
I'm not giving away mine.
Good for you.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, thank you.
That's it, I'm leaving.
Well, I think it's great that we've had this opportunity to meet some new folks and use this forum here at IES and through the artists at the New Music Business Journal to disseminate some new information. And what a great show this has been to have both Mike and Angela here, and then of course we've had Pat and Harlan here earlier. Many different perspectives, a lot of experience, and a lot of new ideas, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be here.